3 new photographs of Princess Charlotte have been released to mark her 7th birthday. The pictures were taken in Norfolk this weekend by the Duchess of Cambridge.
Princess Charlotte's private maid was suddenly fired after 7 years of loyal service. In a move no one saw coming, Charlotte's bold response went viral.
Prince George and Princess Charlotte. And it was her first ever royal visit.
What the young princess did next was so heartfelt, so unexpected, that it touched millions around the world overnight. Join us as we unravel what she did that went viral overnight.
That same day, Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis joined the royal procession in the Trooping the Colour parade.
It all started on a quiet afternoon, when the world would be unprepared for the flood of emotions that would soon follow. Princess Charlotte, the daughter of Prince William and Princess Kate, shared a video online. It wasn't a polished, prepared clip, nor was it the kind of royal performance the world had come to expect. There were no rehearsed smiles, no well-crafted speeches, just Charlotte sitting in her bedroom, surrounded by soft light, her face framed with an expression that wavered between sadness and deep personal reflection. In the video, Charlotte held something close to her chest, a small memento that seemed to carry so much more weight than its size suggested. It was a photo album, faded with age, filled with images from her childhood, but one in particular had her full attention. A picture of Eliza, her private maid. Keep watching to know what unfolded next. The photo album lay open on the velvet-cushioned bench in Princess Charlotte's private sitting room, a quiet space filled with soft morning light filtering through pale cream curtains. The album was bound in worn, rose-colored leather, its edges faintly worn out from years of tender handling. Each page held memories, birthdays, royal tours, and quiet holidays away from the public eye. But nestled between snapshots of glittering tiaras and giggling childhood moments, there was one photograph that Charlotte lingered on longer than the rest. It was a candid picture, young Charlotte, no more than 5, sitting on the floor in her pajamas, laughing uncontrollably as a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile brushed out her hair. That woman was Eliza. Charlotte's breath caught slightly as she traced the edge of the photo with her fingertip. The memory was sharp and vivid. Eliza's scent of lavender and clean linen, her hushed lullabies, the way her hands always seemed to know when Charlotte needed comfort without a word spoken. 7 years of companionship had come to an end without ceremony or explanation. Eliza was gone, and Charlotte had spoken nothing of it, until now. With trembling fingers, Charlotte reached for her phone, not the official palace device, but her personal one, a slightly scratched iPhone 13 mini wrapped in a soft blue silicone case. It had a faint crack running across the lower corner of the screen, a mark of wear from a life lived behind protocol but still subject to the small clumsiness of youth. This phone had seen countless quiet moments, secret texts with cousins, and notes jotted between royal duties. And today, it would record one of the most personal things she has ever shared. She propped it against a stack of classic books on her writing desk, Austen, Woolf, and a collection of Yeats poetry, positioning the front camera to frame just her face and shoulders. Her chestnut hair was tied loosely back, wisps falling free around her cheeks. She wore no crown, no sash, no royal uniform, just a soft oatmeal sweater and simple pearl studs. This wasn't the Princess Charlotte who waved from balconies. This was the Charlotte the world had never truly seen. She took a deep breath and hit record. Her voice, when it came, was quiet but sure, a mix of controlled confidence and visible emotion. Eliza was more than just my maid, she began, eyes flickering down for just a second before rising again to meet the lens. She was my protector, my confidant, my friend. The words came slowly at first, each one a careful step across the delicate tightrope of memory and grief. In a world where everything is always so formal, Eliza gave me a sense of peace. I didn't just lose someone who worked for us, I lost someone who was like family. Charlotte paused, visibly collecting herself. Her breath hitched slightly, and her hand came up instinctively to brush away a strand of hair. A nervous gesture Eliza would have once calmly fixed without a word. She wasn't just there for me when I was small, she was there for me when I was lonely. The confession hung in the air. She made sure I knew I wasn't just a princess. She reminded me I was Charlotte, There was a silence after that, not awkward, but meaningful. She didn't fill it with anything else, letting the words stand on their own. Her eyes glistened, but no tears fell. This wasn't a performance. It was a remembrance. Charlotte reached forward and ended the recording, then sat still for a moment, letting the weight of it settle. She stared down at the phone in her lap, wondering if sharing something so raw was wise, wondering if the world was ready to see her not as a symbol, but as a person. Still, she knew it was the right thing to do since Eliza might possibly see it. The video was uploaded that same afternoon, not through the royal press office, but via her personal, private, but followed Instagram account that only recently had been made public. It didn't bear the stiff official logos or heavily edited visuals, just a caption, "For Eliza, thank you." Within hours, the video exploded across the internet, not just among royal watchers or British tabloids, but across TikTok, Twitter, which is now known as X, Facebook, and news websites globally. Clips of her speaking, especially the line, "She reminded me I was Charlotte," were reposted again and again, each time carrying a wave of reactions, heartfelt messages, stories of people recalling their own childhood caretakers. News organizations moved quickly. The BBC and CNN carried it within the hour. The Guardian published a heartfelt editorial praising the princess's emotional maturity. Vanity Fair called it a moment that redefined modern royalty. But perhaps most striking was the public's reaction. Thousands of people, some from as far as Brazil, India, and South Africa, commented about how the video reminded them that even those born into privilege feel deep human loss. The hashtag number sign for Eliza trended by nightfall, accompanied by artwork, messages addressed to the woman no one had known until now. The global reaction was swift and intense. Public forums and social media platforms erupted with discussions. People from all walks of life, many who had never been closely acquainted with the royal family, found themselves sharing in Charlotte's grief. Ordinary people saw a reflection of their own emotional lives in her words. Some felt a deep connection to her, seeing their own struggles with loss mirrored in the young princess's vulnerability. Others were more critical, questioning why Eliza had been allowed to slip away without so much as a public acknowledgement from the royal family. Was this another example of the royal family's often criticized bias, where those close to them were left to fade into the background? The debates were as varied as the people who voiced them. Some praised Charlotte for speaking out about her emotions, calling it a refreshing departure from the often rigid world of monarchy. They admired her ability to humanize the royal family and show that behind the public image, there were real people with feelings capable of experiencing the same heartache and loss that anyone else could. It was a rare moment of vulnerability that shook the public's perception of what royalty could be.
So it's really funny to get to.
On the other hand, there were those who questioned the circumstances surrounding Eliza's departure. Royal commentators began to speculate about why Eliza had left Charlotte's side. Had she been forced out? Was there some internal palace matter that led to the sudden shift? These questions sparked intense discussions, with some pointing fingers at the royal family's treatment of staff members and the strict boundaries that separated the royals from those who served them. Royal aides were reportedly taken by surprise but did not remove or comment on the video. It was clear the moment belonged to Charlotte. Days later, a royal spokesperson confirmed that Eliza had indeed left her post abruptly, citing personal reasons. But it didn't matter why she left. What mattered now was that she had existed in Princess Charlotte's life, and the world finally knew how deeply she mattered. In the days that followed, the palace received hundreds of handwritten letters addressed to Princess Charlotte, many from children who had lost someone close. One letter, sent from a 9-year-old girl in Ireland, read, "Thank you for crying, so we knew it was okay to cry too." In one brave, unpolished moment recorded on an aging phone in a quiet royal room, Charlotte had bridged the chasm between crown and commonality, the polished surface of royal life, and showed the world a glimpse of the young girl who had grown up behind the palace walls and the woman she was becoming. As the days passed, Princess Charlotte found herself at the center of an international conversation. The attention, while overwhelming, was also strangely comforting. For the first time, Charlotte felt as though her grief had been acknowledged, not just by her family but by people around the world. She wasn't just a princess anymore. She was a young woman grappling with the same emotional challenges many others faced, and in doing so, she had created a connection with millions who saw her as more than just a royal figure. But the newfound attention also brought its challenges. Charlotte had to navigate the delicate balance between being a royal figure and a private individual. Her family, known for their more restrained public demeanor, now faced questions about how to respond to such a personal display. For now, Princess Charlotte sat with her emotions, understanding that she had opened a door to her world in a way few could have imagined. The video had not only gone viral, but it had sparked a conversation about royalty, loss, and humanity that would be remembered for years to come. What started as a simple, unpolished video of a young princess mourning the loss of her maid had turned into something much larger, a movement of understanding, compassion, and shared grief. In the end, Charlotte's video accomplished what few royal gestures had ever done before. It reminded the world that behind the crown and royal titles were real people, struggling with their own moments of pain and loss. It showed that despite their grandeur, members of the royal family experience emotions just like everyone else. The public saw Charlotte not just as a princess, but as a young girl grieving the absence of someone who had been like family to her. The video left the world rethinking the royal family's emotional lives, revealing that even those with the most privileged lives can carry the heaviest burdens. But this viral moment was just the tip of the iceberg. To truly understand the depth of Charlotte's loss, we must look back at the moments that shaped their bond. The quiet, tender exchanges that only Charlotte and Eliza knew. The corridors of Adelaide Cottage hold stories no camera has ever captured. Within those echoing halls, where gold-trimmed portraits stare silently down, true moments unfold, not in press releases or public addresses, but in hushed tones, in gentle touches, in the quiet world between duty and affection. Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana of Wales was born on May 2, 2015, at 8:34 in the morning at the Lindo Wing of St. Mary's Hospital in London. From the very beginning, she attracted global attention. Her arrival brought happiness not just to the royal family, but to fans worldwide who had gathered outside the hospital, eagerly waiting for news. Just a few hours after being born, she appeared in public for the first time, wrapped in a soft white blanket and held gently in her mother's arms on the hospital steps. Her name, Charlotte Elizabeth Diana, is rich in family and has a royal meaning. Charlotte is the feminine form of Charles, chosen to honor her grandfather, now King Charles III. Elizabeth pays respect to her great-grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, who dedicated her life to royal service. Diana was picked in memory of her late grandmother, Princess Diana, loved for her kindness and strong connection with people. This combination of names links Charlotte to three major figures in royal history, symbolizing the strength, legacy, and compassion they each stood for. At the time of her birth, Charlotte became third in line to the throne, after her father, Prince William, and her older brother, Prince George. She also made history as the first female royal not to be pushed down the line of succession by the birth of a younger brother, thanks to the Succession to the Crown Act passed in 2013, which gave equal rights to sons and daughters in the royal family. Charlotte was baptized on July 5, 2015, at the Church of St. Mary Magdalene in Norfolk, the same church where Princess Diana was christened. It was a private ceremony attended by close family and marked her official welcome into the Church of England, continuing a royal tradition. Even though she's often in the spotlight, Charlotte's parents have worked hard to protect her privacy. Prince William and Princess Catherine carefully choose when she appears in public, usually during important events or official family photos. Their goal is to raise her in a way that gives her a sense of normal life, while also helping her gradually understand her future role. This thoughtful approach is part of a more modern way of raising royal children, helping them grow up happy and well-rounded, not just defined by their titles. Then her parents decided to hire a private maid, who happened to be Eliza, a woman whose name the public would never know, but whose imprint lived quietly, indelibly, in the heart of a princess. To the world, Princess Charlotte was the composed young royal, always walking in step, offering a perfect wave, her smile practiced, her posture flawless. But behind that poised exterior, away from the flash of cameras and the hush of courtiers, there was Eliza. Before the world saw Charlotte's trembling voice on camera, long before a clip of her grief orbited social media like a moon around a planet, there was Eliza, quiet, consistent, unnoticed by most. Their story didn't begin like a fairy tale. It began, as most meaningful bonds do, in silence. Charlotte was no ordinary child. Her days at Adelaide Cottage were measured like clockwork, choreographed moments of rules, tutors, bows, and curtsies. Even at 5, she understood what was expected. Sit straight, speak when spoken to, never cry in public. And amid this polished perfection stood Eliza. At first, their exchanges were purely functional. "Left braid first, Your Highness?" Eliza would say gently, her fingers expertly guiding strands of blonde hair. Charlotte didn't speak much at first, but she noticed things. The way Eliza hummed softly, an old lullaby, the kind that sounded like it belonged to a forgotten childhood. The way she tucked a lavender sachet under her pillow each night. The little hand-drawn bookmarks she'd find in her favorite storybooks.
Good evening, Your Majesty. Welcome to Unwavering.
Tiny watercolor animals that looked suspiciously like the pets Charlotte wished she could have. Then one evening, everything shifted. Charlotte had stumbled during a ballroom rehearsal, an awkward misstep during a curtsy, and though no one scolded her, the look from one of the advisors had been enough. She ran back to her room, shutting the door harder than she intended. Tears stung her cheeks, not loud sobs, just quiet frustration slipping through her royal composure. Then there was a soft knock on her door. She expected a governess or a footman. Instead, Eliza stepped in. No words, no lecture, just a small silk handkerchief held out in Eliza's palm. Princess Charlotte took it. "I'm sorry," she mumbled, brushing at her eyes. "There's nothing to be sorry for," Eliza replied, kneeling beside her. "Falling isn't failure. It's just part of dancing." That was the moment everything changed. From then on, Eliza became her quiet sanctuary. There were nights when Charlotte would sneak out of bed just to sit by the laundry room door, where Eliza folded sheets under the warm overhead light. "Can I help?" Charlotte would ask in a hushed voice, and Eliza, without looking up, would smile. "Only if you promise to fold corners properly." They folded together in companionable silence. No secrets, just smiles. And over time, Charlotte started talking about the fear of speaking in public, about how lonely it felt at state dinners, about the way grown-ups spoke around her, but never to her. Eliza never interrupted, never offered royal advice, but sometimes she'd whisper something like, "It's okay to feel small in big rooms." Eliza would draw funny faces on Charlotte's lunch napkins, hide lemon biscuits in her coat pocket, whisper, "You're allowed to be scared," before every speech. However, one memory stood taller than the rest, etched into Charlotte's memory like a pressed flower in a forgotten book. It was the day with photographers buzzing like flies and important grown-ups filling the ballroom like giants. Charlotte froze at the top of the steps. Her voice, her courage all swallowed by the grandeur of it all. Her little fingers trembled. And then, as if summoned by a thought, Eliza was there, pretending to fix a fold in her dress. "You've got this, my brave girl," she whispered, her voice a steady breeze. "Just one step at a time." "I'm right here." Charlotte nodded barely and moved forward. She didn't remember the applause or the polite nods that followed. She remembered only Eliza's words and how they carried her like wings beneath her tiny feet. To Charlotte, Eliza was a constant, like sunlight through the windows or the warmth of the kettle.
What it is.
What it is, exactly, and how we can support not only ourselves but each other as well.
On winter mornings. Their bond wasn't one of duty. It was something deeper, invisible, and sacred. Years passed, but Eliza never left her side. The day the nation celebrated Queen Elizabeth II's 70 years on the throne, the sky above Buckingham Palace roared with RAF jets and national pride. It was a spectacle. Behind the scenes, Charlotte's dress needed last-minute pinning. Her shoes pinched. Prince Louis had already lost his gloves again. Charlotte sat on a low bench, tugging nervously at the hem of her outfit. "What if I mess up in front of everyone?" she whispered. Eliza, kneeling beside her, pressed a warm hand over Charlotte's heart. "You can't mess up being yourself," she said. "Let this lead you." And later, on the balcony, as jets screamed overhead, Charlotte instinctively reached for her ears, just as Eliza had predicted. "Breathe in, hold for 3, let it out," Eliza had taught her. Charlotte breathed. Her shoulders dropped. She turned to her great-grandmother and smiled. Later in the palace garden, Eliza handed her a cup of lemonade. "You remembered the breathing." Charlotte sipped quietly. It helped. Westminster Abbey shimmered under sunlight during King Charles III's coronation. The eyes of the world watched as Charlotte took her place, walking behind her parents, beside her brother, Prince George. In the early morning, Eliza stood by her, adjusting the sash of her ivory dress. "Heavy days need light hearts," Eliza whispered. Charlotte looked out the window. "Will Grandpa be nervous too?" Eliza smiled. "Even kings get nervous, but they don't let it stop them." But at the cathedral, just before stepping into the public eye, Charlotte looked back, and Eliza wasn't there. She had melted into the shadows. Her job done for now, but Charlotte didn't need to see her. She stood tall, straightened her gloves, took a breath, and taking the hands of her junior brother, Prince Louis, she walked forward. To the world, she looked regal, composed, the perfect young royal, but inside, she carried Eliza's voice like a lantern in the dark. "Let this lead you." One morning, Eliza was gone. Charlotte woke up, and she simply wasn't there. No warm tea waiting on the nightstand, no hand on her shoulder, no lullaby humming down the hallway. The adults offered vague explanations. She's been reassigned. She needed time off. She's transferred to another household. But none of it felt true. It felt like Eliza had been erased, like a pencil mark gently scrubbed from the page of Charlotte's life. She didn't cry, not where anyone could see. But that evening, she walked to the nursery window and sat in the chair where Eliza used to read to her. The room felt colder now, the silence heavier. She knew she would miss knowing that someone saw her, not as a princess, but as a little girl, finding her way. She took out one of her old books, the one with Eliza's bookmark still pressed between the pages, a watercolor fox peeking out from behind a tree. On the back was a small handwritten note, "For the girl who walks like sunlight and shines, even when she forgets how bright she is." Charlotte closed the book slowly and held it to her chest. In the end, it wasn't the balcony waves, the speeches, or the ceremonies that made her a royal worth remembering. It was the whisper behind the tiara, the invisible hand on her back, the one who never asked for recognition but gave her the quiet courage to grow. And though Eliza was gone, her memories remained. What do you think about Princess Charlotte making the emotional video? We'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.